Hey everybody, welcome back to our reviews. This week we are looking at The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 8, the mid-season finale, Evolution. This is Chris. With me, as usual, is Jason.
Knock, knock, knock.
Knock, knock. That's all you got?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so, mid-season finale last night. Jason, what did you think? What was your overall impressions of the show?
Shock. Horror. A little bit of outrage.
A little bit of outrage.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, let's start with that. Why were you outraged?
They killed Jesus.
They killed
again.
Right. You should know anybody named Jesus is going to die eventually.
Yeah, well, he'll come back in 3 seasons for the resurrection. He'll be fine.
He is like Optimus Prime like that. He always comes back. Yeah, so, I mean, for me, and we talked a little bit about this before we started recording, for me, I am ecstatic because there's been conversations about the Whispers now for a little while. I'm sorry?
We're jumping right into that, huh?
Right, well, yeah, sure. I mean, let me get that off my chest. Ever since the time jump has been looming, which has been a couple years now, people have been talking about the Whispers, and everyone in my circle knows that I read the comics. They know I know what's going on, and I've kept my mouth shut about the Whispers in large part. And I don't have to keep my mouth shut anymore. It's very simple. Not quite as much stress, but the stress when I knew they were leading up to Negan, and then what he was going to do to, I didn't know for sure it was going to be Glenn, but it ended up being obviously both Glenn and Abraham. Very similar to that. I knew this was looming. I knew this was coming. And I told you this, I was even putting in little seeds about this for the whole first part of the season, talking about herds and stuff and how they're becoming a greater threat and all that, but not really revealing anything. Here we are. We're with the Whispers. So,
yes,
very happy that this has finally been revealed, so I can stop hearing about it and stop being asked about it.
The Whispers, the apocalypse's worst method actors.
It's interesting though. And in Talking Dead, Kirkman was actually on the show. Who's the writer? He created The Walking Dead. He writes the comic, obviously, and he's one of the writers for the show as well. And he said it's a progression of what people will do to survive in this world. Now, I don't know if I would ever get to the point where I would wear a dead man's skin and walk around like a walker to survive, but apparently some people feel that that's a viable way of doing things. And there are strengths and weaknesses to the Whispers and how they're built and how they work as a unit. And that's all I'm going to say right now. You're going to learn all that. You're going to find out the leaders. You're going to find out the psychology behind it. It's going to be really interesting. But they're finally revealed that the Whispers, they're not evolved zombies. They're not learning strategy. They're not learning to talk. They are people. They are people that hide amongst the dead.
Which I don't know if I like that better or worse, because the fact that they're just creepy dudes walking around wearing dead people faces, whispering to each other and stabbing anybody they come across is arguably scarier than talking zombies.
Well, I think it's supposed to be scarier. I think that's part of the point. It's a much bigger threat than you thought. Very similar to the early seasons where everybody thought that the big threat was the walkers, whereas actually it's not. It's the people that are cunning enough and crazy enough to survive in this world, and what they can bring. So I think I'm looking forward to it. Knowing what I know about what happens into the comic and how some of this plays out, I do wholeheartedly believe some of that's going to happen. There's some interesting stuff that's going to come down from this, and I'm looking forward to, especially you, Jason, being surprised by it. But it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Just like the introduction to Negan obviously came with its blows as to what happens to our cast of characters. This will equally come with that as well, but at least in a very fresh and different way. deservingly so. There were similarities between the big threat of the governor and Negan, and I mean those are kind of obvious at face value. This is obviously a very different situation,
especially with the governor and Negan both being sort of well-defined enemies. You know, you knew where they were out of. You could plan around them. You knew where the enemy was. This is more like fighting a guerrilla force. They strike quickly. They go back to hide. They use the most dangerous natural disaster to have occurred in this world, the walker herds, to both serve as protection, hiding, to camouflage their movements. So it's a whole new kind of ball game for our group of survivors.
And as a weapon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you're going to find, I don't even think, I know you're going to find out the scope of how they use walkers as a weapon. And I'll stop right there. All right, so let's talk about the rest of the show. Let's go through that. So, so we get to the hilltop, and there's a bit more animosity than I was expecting between Alexandria people, especially Michonne, and the hilltop, especially with Tara. I mean, there's some cold shoulder there.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what's gone down, and since Rick has been gone, but apparently things have not gone well for that whole love and prosperity thing they were trying to build.
Right. No, that definitely went to the wayside. As we know, things have separated. There are pockets of people that still connect and talk with each other. Obviously, Aaron and Jesus and Daryl have no problem communicating with each other. But it looks like those who are maybe, and not everyone, but many, especially between Hilltop and Alexandria, there's some animosity. There's some heat. And they're not getting along. Seems like Alexandria gets along fine with not Hilltop, with the Kingdom. And the Kingdom seems to be fine with Hilltop, but there does definitely seem to be some issues there between Hilltop and Alexandria. And I do think it directly stems off of what happened in that last episode with Rick, and especially with Maggie. But it looks as though there's more there than what we were able to see.
Yeah, and it is interesting that Michonne still refuses to send anybody to that big peace fair.
Yeah, she's really secluded Alexandria. I think that's going to change. I don't know. We'll see.
Speaking of secluded people, let's talk about the open door.
Yep. Negan. Negan's walking around.
He is. He has freedom.
Somebody forgot to lock the gate, or did they forget to lock the gate? I think they just forgot to lock the gate. I don't think anyone planned on him leaving. But yeah, he's walking around, and there was a preview that I know you didn't get to see, that he's walking around. He's got a shovel in his hand.
Oh, good. What do you think he's going to name this one? Betsy?
I don't know, not unless he had a girlfriend named Betsy or something. But he's walking around with a shovel, and they don't really show him doing anything except for going into a house. You and I talked about this again a little bit before we started the review. What do you think he's going to do?
Well, he's gonna swing in one of two ways. He's either gonna try and again, try and build back up the force he had, or he's gonna try and topple an already existing one. I don't really see Negan being a supporting cast character.
All right, well, that's it. Yeah, like I said in our conversation prior, I think he's going to put himself back in the cell. I think he's going to walk around. He's going to realize the freedom that he has, and he's going to realize what the best course of action is for him to take. And I think he's going to put himself right back in that cell and never tell anybody that he was even out. He's going to lock himself back in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We will see.
We definitely will. Looks like it's going to be a big part of the season premiere in February. So we were introduced to some Hilltop kids.
We were indeed, and arguably the worst part of the episode involved all of them.
It really what these kids suck. Just had a routine being put in the bunch. I'm like, man, it looks like the zombie apocalypse turns you into shittier kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. It was a bland segment. It was just kids doing stupid things. There was nothing really progressive. There wasn't much to commit. The story here didn't advance anything as far as the plot goes. It didn't really make me empathize with any of the characters. It was just, oh great, kids going out, getting drunk, and doing stupid. You know.
Yeah, pretty annoying actually overall. And I don't know if that was the intent or not for them to be annoying, but if it was, good job. I agree. I think it was the worst part of the episode. I just didn't care more than anything else. I just didn't care about these kids and what's going on. I think the end result was just to put Henry in an awkward situation, but and they didn't spend too much time with it. At least it didn't last too long. Let's get to the whole Walker situation again. So you've got Jesus and Aaron and Daryl. They're out there searching. They're coming across this herd on a couple different occasions. It's kind of they showed at the beginning of the episode. They're just kind of walking around, being weird. No one's ever seen them act like this before. Seems to really concern Aaron. Not so much Daryl, not until later. And of course, all the tricks that they try to use to try to divert the herd doesn't seem to work. And then finally, they find Eugene at that farmhouse. And how do you think about how that all played out?
I'm a fan. I enjoyed the sort of suspense. The sort of like laid back attitude. Daryl's seen a lot, he's done a lot, and he's been living out of that gas station on his own. So if anybody's comfortable around walkers, it's got to be Daryl. But that sort of slow burn horror as you realize that the walkers aren't acting the way that they should be, that sinking feeling that something is wrong here, that builds and builds and builds into that moment with Jesus where you see the walker duck and stab him, that builds that suspense up to a good level.
It really does. I thought they played it out pretty well. I mean, something as familiar and as primitive as the walkers. I mean, we've seen so many people die from just getting bit and having to deal with that threat as it is. I mean, it's kind of a subdued threat, but at the same time, it's one that everyone's well aware of. And for them to be in a scenario where now it's different, now they act smarter, now the things that work don't work so much anymore. It's really interesting. It really adds a new dynamic to the whole thing, and obviously we know the reason for that now. But that doesn't, every herd that they come across, every walker that they come across, is it a walker? Are they all walkers, or are there whispers in there? Are the tricks going to work? Can I just do something to distract them and leave and never see this herd again as they walk off in a different direction? Or am I gonna turn around? They're gonna be right behind us because there's some whispers in there directing them. I think it was really cool. The thing at the end there where Jesus takes the swing to try to cut off the walker's head, but then it ducks and stabs him. That was pretty neat. I think that was probably my favorite part of the whole episode. I don't like to see Jesus going so much, but it was really interesting, pretty dramatic, and I don't think it had the same effect for me because I pretty much knew I knew it was coming. But how was that for you as far as a genuine shock?
Yeah, pretty. It was very shocking, to say the least. Just sort of the whoa, that's not how they move, like, what? Very taken aback.
So what did you think was going on? What did you think that these were walkers, they were evolving? Or, I mean, did you think that people had any play in it at all?
Not at all. Like some sort of zombie lord sort of scenario.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you told me about that.
To rule them all.
That's right. You had said that last week. You know what's funny about that though? You're not necessarily wrong. There is some kind of zombie lord. It's just not a walker.
Yeah.
But there is something smarter in the group redirecting them and kind of telling them what to do.
Yeah. So entirely wrong. I did not think there was any human component to it, especially after Eugene earlier in the episode said that we're evolving. Totally right.
All right, well, I think we hit most of the major topics here. So, it being a finale, a mid-season finale, we will rate both the episode and the mid-season so far, the first eight episodes. So, Jason, what is your review? What is your score for this episode?
This episode, I'm going to give 4 out of 5.
All right, I'm going to give it a 3.5. And this is one of the weaker episodes for me for this season, and I understand that I come from a different perspective because I knew what was coming with the Whispers. But I have to be honest, the ending there I thought was a bit cheese. Not so much with the Whisper, but everything that happened after, like Daryl shows up and Michonne shows up, and why the heck is Magna and Yamako, and like why are they all there all of a sudden? I really thought it seemed unnecessary. For everybody to show up like this, like, oh, right at the nick of time, and it really kind of took me out at the end. I thought it just, at least so far, seems as though it didn't really play any purpose other than to try to get everybody kind of grouped up. And I can't for any reason think of an explanation as to how Magna and part of her group even got out of the hilltop, let alone not get found by Daryl or Michonne on the way there, and she just happened to shows up like seconds after. And it's like, I think they might have known. I thought that was really weird. So I'm going to give it a 3.5. This was still good. It was still a really enjoyable episode, but in contrast to the rest of the episodes that we've had this season, I do think it was one of the weaker ones, if not the weakest one. Still good mid-season finale, though. What do you think about the season as a whole? The first, our first 8 episodes here.
Where are we rating this out of?
Out of 5.
I'm gonna give it a 3.75.
3.75.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna, I'm right. I think I'm right in the same area though. I'm gonna give it a 4 though. This has, we've talked about. We've talked about the season as a whole a lot. There's been a lot of conversation about that. There's been a lot of big changes, obviously, with the time jump and with Rick and then the other time jump. It's been a lot of fun. It's been invigorating, especially after Fear Season 4 with Morgan and pals, which was just, I think that is cementing itself as time goes on here, looking back at it as the worst season from either show. It was really bad. There were some good moments, but it was really bad overall. This has been a lot of fun, and I think this is exactly what this show needed. They've done a really good job propping up The Walking Dead again, and giving us some really good, interesting stuff. I'm very much looking forward to things coming back, and where things go starting in February. So I'm gonna give it a 4. But overall, we're both giving it some pretty good marks, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Guys, what did you think? What do you think of the Whispers? Go ahead and leave a comment below. If you liked our review, if you could give us a like and subscribe, that would be great. But yeah, I think that is going to do it for now. We're going to be done until February. We're still going to be doing some of the Telltale Walking Dead, though. We might sprinkle in some more reviews for some other zombie movies and such in between that time. Jason is a very busy man right now, going through school and everything. So I know he's very, as much as he enjoys talking about the show and enjoys our reviews every week, he is definitely taking a much needed break here for a couple months. But we'll see. We might be able to sneak in a couple things in between that time. Jason, any last words before you say goodbye to our listeners for a little while?
Yes. Remember, when you're meeting a new group of strangers, always watch out for the one with the knife.
There you go. See, once again, advice perfect for the apocalypse, but also in real life.
Absolutely.
That's why I like how Jason delivers those. Always good stuff. Universal knowledge. All right, so that is going to do it for us. So until next time, until February. All right, take care. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Hey people, thank you for tuning into this episode and taking a listen. If you like our content, if you like what you're listening to, or anything we go over, hey, please, we would not only love to hear more from you, but it'd be great if you could throw some support. You can subscribe right below. Also, you can toss us a line anytime. That's ksongmedia@gmail.com. Of course, you can tune in for our channel anytime for movie reviews, game reviews, a lot of random wacky stuff. Who knows what you'll hear. And of course, our episode each week where we're bringing the nerdiest things we can find, dig up, and maybe not find. Maybe the stuff that just drops in our laps. But anyway, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We hope to hear from you again later. Take care.